All right. I'm not sure. I'm hoping it's recording. So we are moving into this very last little piece of stuff that we have to do in chapter 11. Okay. So I want you to title today. It really doesn't even have a lesson attached to it because since I'm not really using the book to teach this stuff, I don't really know what lesson this would necessarily fall into in chapter 11. It doesn't really matter. It's just one little piece of the chapter 11 puzzle that we have to learn how to do. Okay? So, this last piece is called addition and subtraction of decimals. So, what I mean by this is we're going to look at some problems here in just a minute where addition and subtraction are inside of one problem. Okay? And that's different. You all haven't seen that before. You have seen adding decimals. You've seen subtracting decimals. But you haven't really seen a problem where inside of one problem there's some addition and some subtraction. That's different. So we have to kind of practice some of those because if you don't know some of these important little things I'm going to share with you, you're going to miss them. Okay, so the first piece of information that's super duper important is this thing called PEMDAS. Okay. Now, PEMDAS is going to be something that we get to play with and explore a lot more a little later in our year. But I'm actually going to bring it into your life right now. Okay. The only part of PEMDAS that we're going to play with right now, though, is the A and the S. Because what does A stand for with math, Carson? Addition. And what about the S, Carson? Subtraction. So since these are addition and subtraction problems, for right now, we're only going to play with the addition and the subtraction stuff. So that's why I kind of took the word PEMDAS and I underlined the A and the S and I drew the little signs underneath to remind you this is the stuff we're going to pay attention to first. Okay. Now, the word PEMDAS goes with something in math called order of operations. Okay? Order is how you do things. In what order do I do this? Operation in math stands for different kinds of math. So like the P represents what? Sophia. Parentheses. What about the E? Mason. Exponents. The M, Connor, multiplication, the D, division, and then the A and the S, Carson already told us addition and subtraction. Okay, these are your major math operations. And sometimes you're going to see all of those inside of one math problem. You're going to see some parentheses, some exponents, some multiplication, some division, some subtraction, and some addition. Are we going to see it in 5th grade? Yes. And it's going to be so exciting when we do. I absolutely love PEMDAS. I think it's fun. I think it's exciting. It really gets your mind moving. And it's got a little bit of algebra stuff in it, and it just makes things a lot more exciting. So for those of you who kind of think that some of this math right now is a little on the boring side, then some of you might because you're pretty wicked smart with math. And so for some of you all, you're kind of thinking, all right, I want something more challenging. PEMDAS is going to bring that, okay? But before we can prepare for the big stuff, we're going to start with just a little piece of it first, okay? Now, here's what you must remember. Brady, put your hand down and just listen for a minute. Here's what you must remember. The biggest, largest, hugest mistake that 5th graders make when they see the word PEMDAS is they think that because the A is in front of the S, that you always do addition first. No. That's the biggest, largest, hugest mistake. But it is a mistake that every kindergartner, 5th grader that I have ever taught, I think, makes. Because you get so deep into these problems that you think, oh, the A is in front, I have to add before I subtract. No. I will tell you, really the only reason why they put the A in front of the S Is because it made a word.
Then it would be 10.
If you put the S in front of the A, it wouldn't really necessarily make a word that you could kind of tell kids, oh, remember this word. Okay? So, the only thing you have to remember, and that's why this little next nugget of notes has 4 stars next to it, says, whatever sign is on the left, and I highlighted left, is what you do first. Okay? And that is so crazy important. If you can start learning that now, when we really get into PEMDAS and we really get into the stuff that has all that stuff, the parentheses, exponents, if you know that what's on the left you do first, you're gonna breeze through PEMDAS. Okay? But it's literally one of the most important rules you can remember in 5th grade. Is that when you are playing with order of operations, and really the book won't call it PEMDAS. PEMDAS was just kind of words made up by teachers to help it easier, to make it easier on kids to remember things. The book calls it order of operation. Okay? And when you think about doing things in the right order, it's pretty important. Like if you were going to bake brownies, as I've shared with you before, if you put everything in the mix and you mix it all up, you put the flour, you put the oil, you put the water, you mix it, you put it in the oven, and then when you take it out, you put the eggs on. Is that going to be a good tasting brownie?
Probably.
Are you going to get brownies?
No.
Yes, you will. You will get brownies. Will they be delicious? Okay. So, my point in sharing that real world situation is that if you don't do things in the right order, you're going to end up with a little bit of a mess at the end. Okay? So, every time I give you like important notes, I always give you an example to kind of help make sense. So, let's look at this example. Okay, everybody take a minute. Now wait a second because I just worked this with the last class. So I'm going to get rid of these little blue lines for a quick moment. Okay, so you all just copy the green numbers that you see there, please, and ignore my little eraser sliding through the middle. Okay.
Well, I can solve it.
All right.
Can I solve it?
We will in just a minute. Okay. This is an example of a problem that has subtraction and addition inside of it.
I know these problems.
Yeah, these are good.
We did something like this. Oh, I know. In 4th grade, but without this.
You did it with whole numbers. Yeah. Yeah, we will. So here is an example of what the purple words mean. So the purple words say that whatever sign is on the left is what you do first. So what I want you to do is take a minute and look at this problem. Do you see how that on this side over here is a subtraction sign and on this side over here is an addition sign?
Yeah.
So what side of my body, what is this side of my body? That's the left. So in this math problem, what sign is on the left? Everybody? The subtraction. Subtraction is on the left side of the problem. Addition is on the right side of the problem. Do you see that? I mean, that's real important that you're able to see that. Because if you're not able to see the side that the sign is on, then you're going to kind of be trapped from the very start. Okay? But you have to kind of look at that as like a sentence. And there's stuff on the left side of this sentence and there's stuff on the right. The stuff on the left is what we do first. So in this particular problem, what math operation is on the left? Cassidy? Subtraction. So that's why I then took my little blue marker and I drew parentheses around the math problem that's on the left. Because that's the stuff I have to do first. Okay? So since you have been taught how to subtract decimals, and you were taught the tips that you have to make sure you do when you subtract decimals, like lining things up, putting the big number on the top, and then filling in zeros and all those empty spaces, go ahead and work 92.63 minus 18.479. If you've already done it, just relax for a minute and give your friends a chance to come up with an answer for that piece. So this is somewhat of like a puzzle. There's a couple of parts, and we got to solve all parts before we can get to the finish line. But do you see how if you make mistakes in this first part, it's going to mess up the whole answer? Yeah.
I made a mistake, but then I fixed it, so now I'm gonna take it.
That's good. That's good. Okay. So when you get the answer to that, take a freeze. I don't want you working the whole thing. Because guess what? If the answer to this first part is not correct, when you start adding the other stuff, are you going to end up with the right answer? No. So let's see. When we did 92.63 minus 18.479, who got an answer that they are pretty confident in? Sophia, what'd you get?
I think the answer is 74.151.
And you are correct. So I hope you got what Sophia got, but don't get too excited because you're not at the finish line yet. You just made it to halfway. So now you have to take that answer, 74.151, and you have to now add it to the leftover stuff in the problem, which is this green stuff over here that was on the right side, which is 26.234. So now I have to figure out what's what, Brennan, what's wrong?
For the subtraction, I got 84, and for whenever you line up 18 and 92, never mind.
You found it?
I crossed out 9 and then put 9 above it.
Good. So you see how, did you put your 0 in your empty space?
Yeah.
See how when you make one little tiny mistake, it's going to throw off the whole problem. So that's why you really got to, don't work too much, because then you'll have to do a bunch of erasing. Okay. But yes, everybody should have had the first part with 74.151. Now,
I made a mistake, I fixed it.
if we add the leftover stuff, Connor Lettieri, what did you get when you add your leftover stuff?
10385,000.
Bingo. Nice. 100.385. Okay, so this, people, is the last thing you need to know.
This is easy.
This is it for all of chapter 11. Okay, so let's kind of think about this. I want you all to practice a little bit of this. Class is not over, and I know your bellies are kind of wanting your snack. So here's what I'm going to do. Class goes till 10:25. I'm going to let in a second, so don't move and groove yet. I'm going to give you 2 practice problems to work on. Actually 3. While you are eating your snack. So you may go ahead and get your snack out while I get these 3 problems. We are still in a record mode, so if you can do this without being super loud, that would be fantastic.
This expired in 2019.
Really? Is it?
It expired
You guys have mold on it, Connor. That happens.
Okay, so here's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Okay, I want you in the next 5 minutes, while you're kind of enjoying your snack, I want you to work through these 2 problems. I'm gonna challenge you with problem number 2. Okay? So for this next problem that I put up here, this one could be something like what I could potentially put as a bonus question, okay? Something like what number 2 is gonna bring. All right, there we go. Bless you. Remember, you gotta go slow on these things because one tiny subtraction or addition error is gonna mess up the whole thing. And that gets really frustrating when those things happen. So just go slow. There's no race to finish. There. Where's your final answer? This one? And the one? No, number one is no. I don't. Hang on a second. Maybe I don't.
But this thing on this side, on this thing, on this side too.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Hang on, take that a second. Just go sit down. I'll get the answer in a second. Close, almost finishing.
I'm done. I just started number 2.
I'm done.
I'm done.
No, I'm done.
Okay, hang on a second.
I'm done.
Double check. Okay. I know some of you are still working, but I'm gonna go ahead and just fill what the answers are up here on the screen, so that those of you who are maybe still working through it can have access to it. So, for the first one, your answer is 228.164. So that's your answer for your first one. Remember, in order to have gotten that right, you had to do it was on the left first. So in this problem, it was addition. So the addition came first, then the subtraction, okay? For the bottom one, I gave you a lot of stuff to work, but you had to do some subtraction, then some more subtraction, and then some addition. And if you did everything in the right order, you ended with 774.23. Look, did you add it? Oh, wait, hang on.
You got it right.
19.26. Let's see. Wait, let me stop my recording one thing. All right, boys and girls, tonight you don't have any homework. You can take the night off because we worked your brain a little bit today, okay?